Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us for this community meeting for the Palisades Fire. Today's Tuesday, January 14, 2025. Some quick stats on the Palisades incident. We're at 23,713 acres. As of this evening, we are now at 18% containment, 18% contained, and we have over 5,200 firefighting personnel on this incident. First up to do an operational briefing is our ops section chief.
Good evening, Christian Litz, Operations Section Chief for CAL FIRE Team 2 on the Palisades Fire. So today, I had the opportunity to take a flight in a helicopter around the perimeter of the fire, and I saw no active flames. But I'm telling you now, that doesn't mean we're out of the woods. We still have a lot of work to do. There is still some isolated heat sources putting up some smoke along the edge of the fire. We did use copters today to help those ground resources to get to those seat of those heat sources and to put them out. Talking on the top half of the fire here, Montanito area, coming across the Piuma Canyon into Tuna Canyon to the Fernwood Topanga. Again, crossing over to Topanga Oak, Sylvia Parks, up on Dirt Mulholland. That's where the edge of the fire has gone into vegetation. We still have crews all along that line, reinforcing the line, improving everywhere they can, and then getting deeper and deeper into that burnt area, searching out those isolated heat sources that we can make sure and lower the probability of any kind of escape out this fire. In those neighborhoods that I mentioned, we still have resources going around, cleaning up and mopping up behind the structures. Mopping up meaning searching for those heat sources and putting them out using waters, hand tools, anything they need to do to make it happen, to make it safe and protect those structures from any kind of adverse fire effect from there. Coming around from Mandeville Canyon down to Riviera, coming along the coast of Pacific Palisades, Topanga Canyon, Las Flores, and Malibu. We have resources all along those structures, again, behind the structures, making sure that line doesn't move, making sure that we take care of any isolated heat sources, combing everything they can, concentrating on the buildings that are still standing, still making sure that days later we still do not have any effects of those buildings, and working really hard and getting all the way inside the interior of the perimeter of the fire as we come around. On Pacific Coast Highway, we do have resources in there, Edison and power companies, making the roads safe again, clearing the rubble around, using the road department to do that, and improving all the infrastructure. We can't let people into the area until their infrastructure is up and the area is completely safe, because we're here to serve the public and make sure they're safe, number one, to protect them and their property, and we want to make sure we continue to do that. Coming up here on the left side of the fire, up around the Franklin Burns scar, we still have black on the line there. That's going to remain, but we have resources still watching around the area. Again, we're ever vigilant to make sure that we don't have any unwanted events. And then we're back up into the Montanito area. All around the fire, still we have that contingency group. That means that we have resources out there still constructing line. So just in case if anything happens, especially in the wind event, we have options as we go forth. Always I say we plan to keep it small, prepare for anything else. We do have the wind event, so we have also structured defense groups out there that are going around all the neighborhoods outside of the perimeter, building structured defense space around those structures, meaning clearing things around, maybe going to the structures and pulling things around, and just building that plan for everything that might happen in this wind event. Then they're also available for any new starts that we can respond to quickly and help the situation out and keep those new starts small. Thank you.
Next up, our incident meteorologist.
All right, good evening. Rich Thompson, incident meteorologist with the National Weather Service, assigned to the Palisades incident. Weather-wise for the area, for the next 24 hours or so, we're still under a red flag warning. Red flag warning is in effect for this area until 6 p.m. tomorrow evening. That means you can expect overnight tonight and tomorrow morning increasing Santa Ana winds across fire, along with humidities remaining very low. So that's give you the recipe for critical fire weather conditions, and those critical conditions will continue until 6 o'clock tomorrow evening, hence the red flag warning remaining in effect till then. But by tomorrow night, I expect those Santa Ana winds to decrease in strength, and then we'll actually, for Thursday through the weekend, we get returned to a more normal, typical sort of weather pattern around here with onshore sea breezes, cooler temperatures, higher humidity. So overall, it'll be definitely 2 to 3 days of a break from all this persistent Santa Ana winds we've had the last 7-8 days. However, going into next week, we look like had another round of extended Santa Ana winds across the area, anywhere from Sunday night through about Wednesday or Thursday. So something I'll be watching closely in the next several days, see how that's going to work out. But definitely looks like more off Santa Ana winds are on the horizon for early next week.
Next up, Los Angeles Fire Department.
Good evening, everybody. Joe Everett, Assistant Chief, Los Angeles City Fire Department, part of the Unified Command here at the Palisades Fire. Let's see. So, again, I'm so amazed by the resilience of the people of the Palisades and Malibu. One quick story I told earlier today. Walking around base camp today, I ran into a fellow public safety member. Happens to be part of the IMT team that's working in one of our areas, works for the Los Angeles County lifeguards. I asked him how he's doing. He said pretty good, despite the fact that he lost his house, lost his parents' house, but he is determined to help the community rise from the ashes. That's kind of the resilience I'm talking about, this type of effort that we're doing collectively to help overcome this. That's being said, let me get down to business. We do, as you heard from our weather expert, we do have still some weather, so I ask you to be vigilant and follow all potential orders or warnings that we may have. And as far as the priorities with the LAFD, our top priority right now is ensuring the safety as we start planning for the repopulation procedures. And in doing that, what we're doing here is we're conducting thorough damage assessments with partners that we work with within the city, USAR, LAPD, Hazmat, to make sure those areas are safe for a potential repopulation coming up soon. Once we're complete with that, we'll start gathering the wagons with some of our city partners, some of those being DWP, Gas Company, Public Works, and LA City Building and Safety. They'll be able to go in and start looking at some of those utilities and things like that. Again, I want to thank you for the continued support. I know it's tough. I know it's frustrating. We're working extremely hard to achieve that goal, to get people repopulated, and we'll keep you updating. We'll keep updating as information becomes available. For more update information, you're welcome to go to emergency.lacity.gov and also lafd.org. We'll also have more information on that particular subject as we go on with this meeting tonight.
A quick reminder that if you have any questions for us, you can put it in the chat. We will circulate those questions, try to find the best person to answer it. And if we don't get to your question here, we'll work to answer it either tomorrow via social media or through our meeting tomorrow night at 6:30. Next up, Los Angeles County Sheriff.
Good evening, Captain Andrew Cruz with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department Incident Management Team for the night side. I just wanted to provide everyone with a few stats from the Palisades Fire. Currently, we have 139 Sheriff's Department personnel working this operation, along with 8 National Guard soldiers and 4 military vehicles. In addition, we have 12 CHP officers assisting us with 9 hard road closures and 2 soft closures. The curfew remains in effect from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. For the mandatory evacuation zones. As you know, the curfew is in place to enhance public safety and to protect property as well as prevent looting. In total, the Sheriff's Department has arrested 8 individuals for various charges ranging from unauthorized entry into a disaster zone, narcotics, curfew violations, and so forth. We currently have 6 missing persons reports, all adults, which are being investigated by our detectives. Sadly, I have to report that there are 5 confirmed deaths in the Sheriff's Department's area responsibility related to the Palisades fire. Today, our search and rescue team were deployed along PCH and the unincorporated area. And unfortunately, they just wrapped up, so I don't have the number of properties that they've searched. And as our incident meteorologist, Mr. Thompson, mentioned, we are under a red flag warning, so that we ask that if you're under an evacuation order, that you be prepared to evacuate at a moment's notice. That means packing your necessities beforehand, before the order is given. So with that, we ask that you please be prepared. Thank you.
Next up, Los Angeles County Fire.
Good afternoon. Robert Harris, Unified Incident Commander. Just wanted to give the community just a few numbers as well. As of today, we've completed 35% of our damage inspection reports for the Palisades fire. This means that you can go now to recovery.lacounty.gov to view the inspections that we have completed on this fire. Please note that these inspection reports will be updated daily so that you may, if you don't see your address or it shows as not completed, you can feel free to go back and check it again daily until your property is populated there. In light of the current red flag conditions, we just want to impress upon the minds of our community members that we are still not out of the woods as of yet. We will just ask for your continued patience. There may be some power shutoffs, and this is only to protect the community and to prevent any other large fires from growing in the area. Additionally, we would ask any of our homeless population that may be viewing this presentation to please not start any warming fires tonight. Please seek assistance from Los Angeles County and our Los Angeles City to assist you in housing for the evening. Additionally, we want to again just thank the community. I know that again, this is a very, very painful process, just waiting to get back into your gain access to your house, and we know that. And again, we're going to get you back into your community as soon as possible, but at that point, it will be safe for you to do so. Thank you.
Next up, Los Angeles Police Department.
Good evening, Captain Morgan with the Los Angeles Police Department. I want to start by letting the public know that as we enter into another period of high winds, we remain deployed and ready to assist with additional evacuations should the need arise. Starting tomorrow, I'm pleased to announce that LAPD will be partnering with Team Rubicon, a private, nonprofit governmental organization with volunteers that will be present and available throughout our traffic control points to provide additional information and share information to community members and the public. For the upcoming 24-hour period, LAPD continues to deploy hundreds of police officers to this site impacted, along with the support of the Los Angeles Airport Police, Port Police, Department of Transportation, and National Guard, who provided 500 soldiers at this point to assist with the Palisades incident. We're very grateful for their support. On the topic of missing persons, we're still actively investigating all reports of missing persons and have dedicated resources to this. As of 3:30 this afternoon, we've reported 35 missing persons, 20 of whom we're pleased to be found safe. 2 have been found deceased. 13 remain unaccounted for, but none are presumed to be deceased at this time. In total, we have 3 fatalities that we have been reported to be fire-related. On the topic of arrests, LAPD has made 14 arrests with a number of violations ranging from failure to comply with the curfew to impersonating firefighter and police officers. We have 3 recent noteworthy arrests outside of the fire zone, where our officers are working tirelessly to mitigate the risk to the rest of the city of Los Angeles. On Sunday night, North Hollywood officers responded to an arson suspect call and arrested an individual who was booked into our Van Nuys jail. Monday night, we had 2 additional arrests, one in West Valley and one in West Los Angeles, where arrests were made on both of those incidents as well. With regards to animal services, we continue to provide support through the city with 311, where you can call and ask for the West LA Animal Shelter to add your home or pet to the list that we are continuing to check on. On the topic of curfews, we continue to have a curfew in place, again, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Anyone found to be in violation will be arrested without exception. And in closing, I just want to reiterate that our department remains committed to the recovery efforts, and we're very grateful for the patient's cooperation and support of the community. Thank you.
Next up, Los Angeles County Office of Emergency Services.
Good evening. I'm here on behalf of the Los Angeles County Emergency Operations Center and Coordinated Joint Information Center. As we continue on the road of recovery, we wanted to share some updates that you may find useful during this recovery journey. Disaster recovery centers and local assistance centers have opened today at 2 locations to assist residents. The West Side Center, located at the UCLA Research Park, and the East Side Center, located at Pasadena City College Community Education Center. are one-stop shop centers where residents can find help navigating the recovery process. These centers offer resources for financial assistance, housing, funds for repair, and more to help individuals, families, and businesses. Visit recovery.lacounty.gov for location information and hours of operation. We understand there are many questions that you may have regarding the recovery process. Continue to visit recovery.lacounty.gov for updates and future announcements. Finally, Los Angeles County thanks everyone who has shown overwhelming generosity in our time of need. Thanks to you, our donations are at capacity and have helped many of those affected. As we transition to recovery, we encourage those who want to help to consider monetary donations to the number of organizations that are doing work on the ground to assist those in need. We urge you to consider donations to trusted, verified organizations such as ENLA, the Emergency Network Los Angeles, the American Red Cross, the Salvation Army, and the California Community Foundation. Financial contributions are the fastest, most flexible, and most effective method of donating. These proceeds go to organizations on the ground who know where the need is and support local businesses that support local economies. Thank you.
Next up, City of Los Angeles Emergency Management Department.
My name is Brandon Silverman. I'm a captain with the Los Angeles City Fire Department, and I'm here on behalf of the City of Los Angeles Emergency Operations Center, or EOC. I'm currently assigned as the Assistant Joint Information Center Manager. The EOC is a large facility located in downtown Los Angeles that serves as a nerve center during various large-scale incidents and events. It provides for multi-agency coordination of resources and information to support response as well as recovery. The goal of the EOC is to coordinate the overall city effort to support field operations, restore essential infrastructure and services, and return the city to normal operations. We also oversee recovery efforts. We have officials from every city department as well as representatives from supporting agencies and organizations under the same roof to help facilitate everyone's goal of mitigating this disaster, and we're all working to go through the recovery process together. While our EOC was initially activated to support emergency operations since the onset of this incident, we have fortunately now been able to shift our focus to the recovery phase. As we're all aware, it will be a long and challenging road to recovery. However, we want to assure everyone that the City of Los Angeles is here to support you every step of the way. Some initial steps that can be taken now. Visit lacity.gov for information and resources related to recovery, and access the LA Wildfire Recovery Resources 2025 link at the top. Start a damage assessment claim. This can also be accessed at the lacity.gov website. You will also find information for assistance for individual families, property owners, businesses, and housing services on this website. The City of Los Angeles is partnering with the county, state, and FEMA to provide a disaster recovery center in the location in West Los Angeles. This is a one-stop information and resource center designed to assist those who have lost vital records, which include birth certificates, death certificates, driver's licenses, social security documentation, etc. To help those who have experienced loss or damage to their homes and businesses with such tasks as applying for disaster relief loans. The center will also provide referrals for mental health counseling and other services if so needed. As of this afternoon, since the opening of the Disaster Relief Center on the west side at 1 p.m. today, over 55 households have visited the center and started the recovery process. This resource will remain open 7 days a week, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., and will remain open every day, and we're talking weeks, not days, as long as necessary to provide services to those impacted by the Palisades wildfire. Again, for more information, please visit lacity.gov. The location of that west side location, Disaster Resource Center, is 10850 Pico Boulevard in Los Angeles, California. Thank you.
That concludes the formal presentation portion of this. We've got some great questions online, so we're going to jump into that. I'll go ahead and start it off with a couple questions. We had a question about the URL for MAP products. If you go to fire.ca.gov, It takes you to the incident page. You click on Palisades, and it's a good catch-all one-stop shop for all kinds of products, including the maps. You can see the map with the latest fire perimeter, shows the current evacuation zones, and also has the damage inspection map as well as if you scroll down. Some other questions regarding the air quality and water quality. I'll start with the air quality. We have a what's called a link tree in our bio on YouTube. What you do is you click on our bio, you'll see a link to the link tree. It has all kinds of great resources, air quality, water quality. It has links to our partners at LAFD, LA County Fire, LAPD, and LA Sheriff. And really, it's a good way to find quickly the information you're looking for. So when it comes to air and water, just click the link in our bio for YouTube, and you'll be able to find the information you're looking for. We'll turn it over to our ops for some additional answers to questions you guys had.
All right, good evening. My name is Landon Hack, and I am one of the ops section chiefs who work for CAL FIRE. So the first question I have is, who is CAL FIRE and how do they relate to our local fire department? So CAL FIRE is your statewide fire department from the southern border to Oregon, from the Pacific over to the Nevada border. So broken up over the entire state of California, and we have responsibility for what's called state responsibility land. So it's land outside of the U.S. Forest Service or federal agency jurisdiction, and then outside of your local fire department's jurisdiction. And how it relates here is outside of the city in LA County, we contract with LA County for the protection of that. We contract LA County to protect that, and so that gives them a nexus to us through that agreement. And then we have our incident command teams. We have 6 of those, and they're all risk, and we respond to a lot of stuff just based on the need for that community. Doesn't have to be necessarily a wildland incident related. So the request was made, and that's why we're here doing what we're doing. The next question I have is, what area is 18% contained? So if we look over here at the map, the containment is represented by the black line on the map. So where the fire bumped up against the Franklin fire, that is contained over there, and then containment along the Pacific Coast Highway up into just past Topanga Beach. And then there's some areas kind of in between some of the other areas over towards Pacific Palisades down on the Pacific Coast Highway. So when we refer to the containment, that is a percentage of the entire fire perimeter is what that number represents. The next question is, how do you utilize drones and satellites? So the drones we use for several different things. We have drones that we can put up in the air that give us infrared signatures so we can see heat in the middle of the day where something might not be actively smoking, but the infrared on the drone will pick that up. So we utilize those to search out those hot spots that might not be smoking, but they still exist. Another use that we have for the drones is for burning operations and also for just watching over firefighters if they're down in an area where they can't see the ground, because again, that infrared allows it visual through the smoke, because it can see through the smoke. So they can see the ground and the fire's edge, communicate that to the resources on the ground that are trying to attack that fire so they know exactly where the fire's edge, and it helps them out that way. Got a lot of them here. So next question is, what is the difference between handline and line construction? So handline is the removal of, well, handline is a break in the fuels from the edge of the fire. So handline construction is the process of putting in that handline. So it's a removal of flammable vegetation from the fire's edge back a certain distance based on the height of the fuel. So the higher the fuel, the wider that hand line needs to be. The bulldozers do the same thing, just mechanically and quicker. But the bulldozers are limited to terrain, so they can't go down into steep terrain too much. And the last question I have is their active fire. So there's no active fire right now in the sense that you're going to see, any of the big fire runs, flames going up a hillside. The fire right now is contained inside. It's being held inside of the perimeter that we've built with the hand line that I explained, bulldozer line, and then the hose lays that the firefighters have put on the ground. But there's still active heat along the edge. So that's what they're in there working on right now, trying to remove all that heat, all the stump roots and, just ash material that's burned down, get rid of all that heat so that it cannot get into the flammable vegetation anymore.
Hello again, Christian Litz Operations. So we got a couple more questions here. How do I access the PSPS areas and potential shutoffs? You can go to www.sce.com and visit the outage map. That'll help you understand those areas. Are gas lines destroyed? Yes. So when I talk about infrastructure repair, this also ties into when people could repopulate the areas where they live. We talk about we have to make the areas safe. So infrastructure is everything from Edison or the power lines from gas company to everything that's utilities. So water, everything that is infrastructure, that's what we're talking about. So all those have been damaged in the neighborhoods in the Palisades, Temescal Canyon, and anywhere that there's been substantial damage with the structures. How are you caring for wildlife? So whenever we come across injured animals, whether it be wildlife, domestic animals, anything that we find, we take it very seriously. We care about the animals in the area, especially the wildlife. So we call animal control, and they're the experts in the situation. They'll come up, get the medical care that the animal needs for, and also work on returning the domestic animals back to their owners. We have several questions about if certain areas are safe and if there's any threats. So specifically, the questions were referring to Sherman Oaks, Santa Monica, Brentwood, and Crestwood. So if you look at the fire footprint of the fire in the last 24 hours, it has not moved, even though there's a lot of heat sources around the edges that we still have to work to improve the lines, secure the edges, and work getting rid of those heat sources. It still has not moved. I'd like to say there is no threat, but in the wind event that we have, there is always a threat, not necessarily from this fire, but also from new starts. So still keep an eye out on the alerts out there. Still do things that you could do to build defensible space around your homes, and just pay attention to the media and the alerts out there just in case anything happens, and be ready to go if you need to. When could we repop? 3 questions is Rustic Canyon, Topanga Canyon, and Encino. So talking about repopulation, we will not allow people into their homes until it is safe to do so. So we want to make it safe again. So that, again, going back to the infrastructure to make sure the infrastructure is there, at least the basic minimum amount, so that they're safe as they're living in their homes. Also, fire safe. So we want to make sure that we get rid of any heat sources. We want to make sure that there's not a lot of traffic with fire personnel, because it's not safe for the fire personnel or the public if they're in there mixing around. And we have USAR teams, which is search and rescue teams out there, making sure and looking for things and making sure the area is safe structural wise. We have hazmat resources out there. They're looking at and make sure there's no hazardous materials that could harm any of the public as they go back to their homes. So again, we're going to let you in as soon as we can. That is utmost important to everybody on this team and the agencies that work in the area. But again, we want to keep the public safe. That is our number one concern. Thank you.
Good evening again, Rich Thompson, Instant Meteorologist. I have actually two questions here. First one is, are there air quality concerns? Now, thanks to the efforts of the firefighters, the fire is producing little, if any, smoke. So that's a good thing for air quality. However, I think anyone who's in or around or near the fire perimeter or the fire area, the air quality is probably definitely poor, just because you have both the wind blowing up all that ash and all the particles from the buildings that have burned, chemicals in the air and so forth. So anyone who's going into the fire perimeter or in or around the fire, I think should probably wear some sort of mask or some sort of protection for the respiratory system, especially if you're older individuals, more sensitive respiratory issues, things like that. The other question is a good one. What does the red flag alert mean? Red flag alert mean? The National Weather Service issues red flag warnings. We issue these red flag warnings to advise the fire agencies, both federal, state, and local, of an upcoming weather event that could pose some very serious fire threats. The possibility of rapid fire spread and extreme fire behavior. So the National Weather Service issues these products anytime there is those critical conditions developing. It could be a combination of winds and temp and RH, like with Santa Ana. Could be for thunderstorms and dry lightning in the summertime, or just kind of anything else we deem that is significant enough to give the firefighters a heads up that there are some very potentially critical fire weather conditions coming down the road. And so they take the red flag warning issued by us, the National Weather Service, and they make certain staffing decisions, pre-positioning of resources, things like that, based on based on their concerns with red flag warnings.
Good evening again. We received a question as to why we cannot retrieve our items and be escorted into the areas. So we did briefly attempt to facilitate escorts into the closed-off areas, but we are not doing that at this time. I do not have an updated timeline as to when we may be able to facilitate that again. Let me reiterate that all of us deployed on this incident on all sides of government are incredibly empathetic with the communities and all the community members impacted by this fire, and we have two critical priorities on the law enforcement side: preservation of life and public safety. In order to accomplish that, our law enforcement footprint has three critical missions, including the traffic checkpoints, the capability to conduct additional evacuations if it becomes necessary, and then the roving patrols that we are providing throughout the community to suppress any crime that may occur. We have a substantial 24/7 police presence within the affected area, and we will continue to maintain that. Once the Unified Command deems it appropriate and safe for the community to re-enter, whether by means of escort or by means of repopulation, we will absolutely facilitate a timely and organized approach to do that with the community in mind. We thank you again for your cooperation and support.
All right, I took a question here. Will there still be a police presence once the evacs have been lifted? And the answer to that is yes, 100%. So once the evacuation orders are lifted, we will enter into a phased approach to the repopulation of the area. So throughout this process, we will maintain our roving patrols, if not increase patrols, for the repopulation process. So please be rest assured that we are here to support the community in the recovery through this incident. Thank you.
All right, good evening again. A couple more questions here that I got. One of them is, do I need to evacuate for a red flag? So the red flag that was described earlier, that red flag warning is not an evacuation warning, but it does need to be paid attention to. So, some heightened awareness, have your go bags packed, and be ready to evacuate if that notification comes out. It's telling the fire agencies and the public, because it's available through the National Weather Service, to get that information, and you probably see it on the news media. But that is telling you that we have a situation that is going to potentially, if there is a fire, produce a more rapidly developing fire, rapidly spreading, and the need to evacuate quickly. So When the red flag warning is up, definitely heightened sense of awareness and pay attention to your evacuation order and warning processes. And one more here that I got is why is the coast still evacuated? So talked about a little bit earlier by a few of my partners. There's still a lot of dangers in there. So there's still power poles down, there's wires on sidewalks, there's still some smoldering buildings that need to get dealt with. We want that area completely safe. The utility companies are in there working, doing their work to get make sure all the gas lines are off. There's no leak there. The power companies are working to make sure that there's no electrical hazards, and the fire department, the firefighters are in there working to make sure that there's nothing left burning, so that nobody gets hurt when it is opened back up for repopulation. So that's the reason right now. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Jim Hudson. I'm the incident commander from CAL FIRE Team 2, representing the Unified Incident Command for this incident. We've been monitoring the questions, excellent questions tonight, and obviously there is a trend to them. We are well aware that people are concerned and want to get back to view their properties and get home. The questions tonight relating to the fire activity. There's not a predominant smoke column in the sky anymore, but there's a lot of hazards, extreme hazards still exist out there. There's still an extreme amount of heat along the perimeter and the interior, and it's not viewable like it was early in this fire. We are actively working to extinguish all those hot spots and make sure that with the red flag event that's upon us, that we don't see any additional fire growth. Excellent questions. I just want to assure you that we are working on all those items, and we'll continue to provide updates as much as possible. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Reminder that we will have another virtual meeting again at 6:30 tomorrow night. 6:30 tomorrow night. Thank you again. Have a good night.